You're listening to the AV-IT Amplifier. Each week, we'll feature voices and ideas that need to be amplified in the higher education and pro-AV IT communities. This show is brought to you by higheredav.com. And now here's your host, Ryan Gray.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again to the AV-IT Amplifier. As I say, if it's Wednesday, you know we're going to be back bringing you a voice of somebody that you need to hear from, and today is no exception. And I also always have to start off with something about me, which is it's dark outside right now when I'm doing this recording. Literally, it is dark because it's 7 a.m. my time, but that's how bad you want to know that I wanted to get up and record with today's individual. I would have got up at 4 in the morning if that's what it took to do it. So, Chris, thank you for being with us. Would you take a second to introduce yourself and let people know who you are and what you do?
Sure, Ryan. My name is Chris Hewitt. I am the manager for Classroom Technical Infrastructure at the University of Guelph. I've been on a couple of other podcasts, so you may hear me going from podcast to podcast from time to time. Manage the audiovisual for a 30,000 student university. Got about 450 spaces across campus where AV is equipped. Lots of moving and shaking going on campus all the time, just like all those listeners out there who are in higher ed. We're just always involved, go, rock 'em, sock 'em all the time. So, yeah, that's me.
Well, thank you for being here, and I always like to call out people who join. You joined today with your Sennheiser microphone and Sennheiser headphones like a professional.
Yep.
So
got the cans on.
All right. See, we in AV,
shameless
we know
plugs.
how to do it. Yeah,
Right?
Sennheiser and Shure, both good supporters. So,
Absolutely.
You've got Sennheiser
Yeah,
today. I've got Shure today. So everybody, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
there's room for great audio everywhere.
Absolutely, and we're a great we're a great Sennheiser supporter here on campus. We use all their products. I'd be remiss to not call out my my sales and business development rep, Steve Allen. He lives kind of down the road from me, so it's great. Hey, Steve, what's up? So yeah.
Now Steve has to listen.
Yeah, he's got to listen now. I'm gonna call him out afterwards.
Let him know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Good deal. Well, I won't remember how far back this was, but I saw a post from you. I'm probably on LinkedIn, and
Yep.
I read it, and it immediately grabbed me because there was so much I connected with in it. So I immediately grabbed it, copy and pasted it into this long note I have that has stuff for the show. And it was, and so it was one of those like, this is something we need to talk about. So if you'll indulge me for a second, I'll read it to you, and then
Absolutely.
let's dive into it. So I'm going to do my best to not sound like a doofus when I do it. So
That's all good.
these are Chris's words, not my words. So if you're angry, send letters to Chris, not me.
Yep, send letters to me. Yep.
Cool.
Search me up on all the socials.
All right. So the post is, I want to address a topic that has been close to my heart for quite some time, breaking down the silos between AV and IT groups in higher ed. I'm fiercely passionate about fostering collaboration and driving positive change. I firmly believe that true innovation and operational excellence can only be achieved when we unite our efforts and break down these barriers. It's always been with the end user in mind. In pursuit of delivering exceptional experiences, it is essential to acknowledge the critical role that both played by both AV and IT departments. While AV specialists are responsible for creating immersive learning environments through cutting-edge technology and audiovisual solutions, the IT teams ensure the stability, security, and seamless integration of these systems. Gone are the days of AV islands. Everything sits on the network. Now, shift the focus to end users, the students, faculty, and staff who rely on these systems every day, be it in the classroom or the boardroom. What they see and hear is crucial to the underlying systems working flawlessly. The support of these systems is the driving force behind our dedication to providing top-notch experiences. To truly meet the needs, recognize that properly designed systems and operational excellence requires more than just reactive troubleshooting. It necessitates proactive maintenance, continuous monitoring, and a genuine understanding of the end-user perspective. Waiting for 30 minutes to have someone arrive to begin to troubleshoot a class or a meeting room experience is not a good experience. When someone calls for help, they are already delayed in their work. Imagine a world where AV and IT professionals come together, collaborating seamlessly to deliver innovative solutions that transcend the boundaries of traditional support. This transformative approach brings technology and support methodologies into perfect harmony, enhancing user engagement, knowledge retention, and overall satisfaction. To achieve this vision, it is vital for AV and IT professionals to embrace cross-functional collaboration. By fostering open lines of communication, knowledge sharing, and joint problem solving, we can leverage our collective expertise to identify opportunities for improvement, optimize system performance, and anticipate potential challenges before they arise. To my fellow colleagues in higher education and beyond, I encourage you to join me on this journey towards breaking down silos. Let's proactively bridge the gap between AV and IT, fostering a culture of collaboration and mutual respect. Share knowledge, show and mentor others how to grow, and mentor others to grow together. By doing so, we will unlock new possibilities and elevate the educational experience, empower our students, faculty, and staff to thrive in an increasingly digital world. The world has changed. Why haven't we? Think about keeping the end users in the forefront of our minds. So, Chris, I will stop talking now. It's time to hear your voice. But so that kind of goes beyond a thesis, almost to a manifesto and a call to action.
It was
at
a
the
manifesto.
end.
Absolutely.
It was. So
Yeah.
where did that come from? Why is this something you're so passionate about?
My own frustration. I mean, you and I talked about this at Infocom last year on the show floor. Like, why are IT and AV not collaborating more and more, right? So I put some ideas into it, and I said, Chat GPT, write me a thing. And then I took it from there and redacted it and adjusted it and massaged it and made it more oomph, if you will, right? I had to get it from somewhere.
Right.
So I use ChatGPT. Use your tools. ChatGPT is a tool. Use a tool. So full disclosure, I use ChatGPT to help me with that.
You're not supposed to tell people that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I believe in transparency. So this is me being transparent. But the ideas are my own. The creation and putting the proper words together, maybe not so much. But the idea was IT and AV need to come together for the end user, full stop. You can't wait. When something goes down, especially in higher ed, you can't wait. So that's the call to action. Like, get together with your IT departments, your network team, your server infrastructure team, if they have a network operations center, leverage it. Geez, just leverage it. Put all the alerts into there. Get your SNMP traps going. Now we're getting technical, but yeah,
it's good.
You know what I mean? Just get it done. Get it done. So yeah.
How is that then played out for you? Is this something that you have been able to do? Something you dream about doing? You specifically use the word journey in there? Join me on this journey. So, what has your journey been like trying to unify AV and IT?
Ouch. You have resistors on both sides of the fence, if you will. You need to cut that fence down and bring the two together and say, listen, you're on the same island. Get it going. This isn't an episode of Survivor here, right? Mm-hmm. You need to break down those fences and the traditional ways of doing it and get people to see the vision together. And it's really hard. As a leader, it is hard to stamp out and get rid of those proverbial blockers, if you will, right? Those people who are resistors, they want to do it the way it's always been done for 20, 30 years and move forward, right? The fact of the matter is everything needs to sit on the network because that's going to be the cheapest way to transport. So, whether you're transporting it from an equipment rack in the classroom up to the projector or halfway around campus, or you're broadcasting on a web conference, right? You need to be able to get it onto the network. So work together with your network folks. When you have quality issues, when you have jitter happening on your Microsoft Teams or your Zoom calls, you need to be able to work with them instantaneously to get it addressed, right? So when things go wrong, you need everybody at the table to help you fix it. And that's really it. So one of the things I've been working on the side of my desk, just on the side, is actually the AVIXA Audiovisual Network Professional exam.
Yeah.
So I've been intimately involved with that exam creation process, and it launched back in, I want to say, started December. They started beta testing people for it, and I know that in April they're going to be doing a passing mark review score. So I actually wrote some of the questions on there because my background is IT. Actually, I fell into AV just like everybody else. They said, "Oh, we're doing this AV stuff," and I just kind of morphed into that about 10, 15 years ago, and everything's sunshine and puppy dogs since then. So it's great. Yeah.
When you talk about you use the word collaboration a couple of times in there, and
Yeah.
it's a word that it's almost become ubiquitous enough to be like let's circle back or some other corporate speak for something. But true collaboration involves an understanding of the people that you're working with, so that you can get them what they need, they can get you what you need, and there's a back and forth. Do you find that when you're trying to break down silos, how does fostering collaboration or true collaboration come into that process?
I think the easiest way is you seek out what they're trying to do. It's just like a negotiation, right? What is that happy medium where everybody's going to be happy and it's a win-win-win, or really a lose-lose-lose because nobody gets their own way.
Right.
But those are the sort of conversations that you need to have with your network team, your business analysts, to determine what really is the way that we need to move forward. So for me, just to kind of back up a couple of years, we had this thing called a pandemic. I don't know if you remember that. It's kind of flushed for me and gone. But
Yep.
We said, oh my gosh, we got to get web conferencing going in all these classrooms, right? And I don't say video conferencing, I say web conferencing because it's a deliberate term I use.
Right.
It's hybrid, air quotes, hybrid. We're using Zoom, we're using Teams, we're using, at the time, WebEx, we were using our learning management systems, integrated stuff. It was the Wild West. And so we started to standardize on things. The first thing we determined is, oh my gosh, we don't have cameras or microphones everywhere. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to have to throw these in and make it work. Okay, we need network jacks. Oh my goodness, we only have one network jack in a classroom so that the prof can actually plug in their laptop.
Right.
Wow, what do we do? Hey, network team, we need to get some extra cable dropped in here. Can you handle 20 more jacks per room?
Right.
Yeah, we could if we had like 3 more switch closets. I go, okay, well, we have these racks in the room. We could put a switch in there. Will you allow us to? I don't know. Well, what kind of switch? Well, I was thinking like a little Cisco 8-port switch and, do that. Unmanaged switches. I'm not sure about that. How do we stop the broadcast storms or the network loops or things like that? I said, well, what suggestions do you have? Well, we have these Cisco switches, which are Meraki's. It's a company that Cisco bought, and we've seen good things with them. And what if we had you bolt that into the rack and we manage a switch for you? I was the network team having a conversation with me. I go, absolutely. So let's take it the next step. Can we do separate VLANs on each of those ports? Absolutely. Let's do that. And then we can put in all the blockers in there and we can have stuff. So we have these 24-port switches in every one of our classrooms now. And it's given us the ability to do PoE Plus, without actually doing power injection, which is fantastic. We don't need all these extra little boxes that are going to fail 4 or 5 years down the line. It's all backed up by an enterprise-grade managed switch network, which, my gosh, revolutionary, right? It was revolutionary for our university because it allowed us to work together, break down those silos, and really see into their world as well. We got alerts when the switches would go up and down, and that's really powerful for us because we had no alerts before in terms of when we got power outages on campus. And,
Yep.
a campus that has 180 buildings, they have a little bit of power fluctuation happening, especially in our crop sciences building where they have these minus 80 freezers. It's quite interesting when the power drops and you see all these switches bump off. So
Go crazy.
lots of fun. Lots of fun.
I love that story, and it's very it's crazy how controversial just the idea of having network switches, not AV only switches, but actual production network, the university switches in your lecterns is. And so what I'll say is, Chris has 180 buildings. That's a lot. People working there to do it at scale. Yavapai College, not near that many buildings. We've had network switches in our lecterns for 8 years now, something like that. We have AV VLAN, Dante VLAN, all of that stuff worked out, and their switches are no different than the managed network switches everywhere else. And we're at the point now where all our AV over IP traffic is on the production network level because
so full disclosure
together. Yeah.
My own AV team don't even want to go down the AV over IP roadmap. They don't. And I'm like, why not? Well, because it's not the way we've ever done it before. It scares us. And I'm like, well, I'm sure when you say multicast, that scares the network folks as well.
Yeah.
So, they just look at that and they go, oh my gosh, broadcast storm. Right. And it's like, oh my gosh, what? Like, come on, guys. Like, there's going to be mistakes that get made. There's going to be things that go down, but you learn from those mistakes and you fail forward. And I know that's kind of a buzz term, but you have to experience those failures so that you can learn from that and grow from that. And that's super important in any role, whether it's in higher ed, whether it's in court systems, whether it's in, K to 12, right? You need to learn, right?
And you can't be afraid of what's next. I know I was talking about real quickly the difference. I was talking with the vice president at our college about the difference between IT people and the technical people who work in our performing arts center, where it was like, like they're different people. They may work tech stuff, but if you work live event and performing arts, you thrive on the adrenaline of live and the curtain goes up.
The show must go on.
Yeah.
The show must go on.
If you're in network, you want very calm, very steady. Every packet moves every day, yada, yada, yada. And there's a reason they don't speak the same language. So do you feel like that, sometimes I believe the resistance from network people to want to get involved in these things comes from a good place. That is, they're motivated by stability and reliability for what they build. Therefore, doing things new, especially when those new things involve broadcast traffic and a lot of bandwidth using full gig ports at a time, that seems like a threat to how they serve students rather than an augment to how they serve students. Do you see it similarly?
It has been my experience that is what they want. And the misnomer that happens is when Wi-Fi gets involved. Because Wi-Fi deals with radio signals, and then you have interference, and you have capacity issues. And so for us in a 600-seat auditorium, when everybody is trying to use an iClicker app on their cell phone as well as their laptop at the same time, you've got 1,200 devices in that room.
Yeah.
And by the way, the prof is trying to stream on Wi-Fi on Zoom.
Right.
There's a problem. And, then the finger pointing starts. Well, it's this. Well, it's that. Well, no, here's the experience. The prof is trying to live stream this lecture. They're trying to get active, synchronous audience engagement using a third-party tool, which we don't control. It has bandwidth requirements as well. And the network team need to understand that. So when you pull in one of those, the CCIEs, right, the Cisco Certified Internetworking Experts, you pull one of those guys in with you into the classroom, and there's 600 pairs of eyeballs looking at you going, are these guys going to get working? Yeah. There's no pressure there at all.
Right.
There's no pressure.
Exactly.
There. And it's the first time that network engineer has experienced that pressure.
Yeah.
And then you see them sweating, and you're like, come spend a day in our shoes, right?
Yeah.
Come spend a day in our shoes supporting the end user. And then they realize why we need to react so fast. And so it's the same thing with that theater tech, right? The show must go on. Yeah, the teaching cannot stop, because in 10 minutes, if you can't figure that out, the class is stopped.
Yeah.
And if the class is stopped, you better believe that the dean's getting a call, your associate vice president academics getting a call, and ultimately your boss is getting a call going, why is it not working? Right?
So
I thought we invested like $100,000 in this stuff.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. We paid the money.
Right.
It's supposed to be
Yeah.
great. So
like it better be great.
But I love the idea of that, and actually, one of the things I love about how you talk about this is it, like I said, it aligns with things that I believe and I'm working on, actively in my institution also, which is
Keep working, Ryan. It's a battle.
Well, yeah, but I think one of the reasons I love this is the way you talk about it. You don't talk about it in this post as a battle, even though it feels like a battle a lot of the times. It has a little bit of a vision of, coming together. And even the way you just said that, which is, network person, attach yourself to me and come stand in this place and see the people. And that's what turns your work from packets to people. And AV people are highly attuned to end user experience, not only because it's driven to us, it is what we do, and even like our standards, Avixa standards are built around from the audience perspective out, not from the technical's perspective in. So we have that. And so I think that idea of let's get in the trenches together, instead of me telling you what's important and you telling me what's important, but let's go together and together see what's important, is a way of moving about that.
Absolutely. And I really feel, Ryan, that is kind of, as I put it, a call to action, right? That journey. Come with me down that yellow brick road so that we can pave it in gold, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's work together. We're all here for the same purpose. It's for the students. The academia doesn't exist for anybody but the students and the research that happens around those students and the higher learning that needs to occur. We are an enabler of that. If you are not if you are not there to help us enable that, there's no point in you showing up to work, right?
Right.
If you're just a detractor at that point. So come with me. Come, let's rock it out together. All right, let's do it. So
find those allies who have their why. It's like they know why they're there, and from that why comes that the ability to make common cause. I totally agree.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So that's how I one of the mantras that I have, and it's always leave it better than you found it. If you can do that, that's how I live my life.
Yeah, it's in the delta. Anybody can keep it just like it was. It is the delta of moving forward and the delta of creating the right kind of change that shows. Okay, so I'm going to get your reaction to one other thought, which is, you guys. This doesn't sound like you've gone that far down the road of AV over IP. Some places are far down that road of doing it.
Absolutely.
At Yavapai College, so I have 2 renovations underway, and there is nothing but cat cable called in these buildings. 100% of everything. I don't have a single analog cable, not a speaker wire, nothing called out in these buildings, and it's IP end to end. Be it Dante, AV over IP, we're Crestron House, so it's NVX that we're built on. All of that, it is all cat cable, right? And in the end result of that means that in these 2 buildings that we're building, the majority of the actual packets that will traverse the network there are audio and video, just like the majority of packets that traverse the internet are audio and video. So at what point should IT be reorganized in institutions like that to have networking report to AV, since most of what they do will be actually transporting AV signals?
Well, that's an interesting one. And it also depends on how you're traditionally organized as well. Are you, for a large institution like mine, being assembled under the IT department versus being assembled under the academic support services unit is kind of how things have transpired. So now it's crossing those. You're not reporting up to the same vice president. So up at the top, everybody reports to the president of the university, but the president of the university has the finance administration side. They have the academic side, and never the two shall meet. Kind of like the old boys and girls entrance to the old schools. That needs to go away. Everybody needs to understand that they are supporting the end user experience, and the end user experience is specifically around the students and the faculty members. If you're not supporting them, you're not supporting anybody.
Yeah,
so, full
don't
stop.
Put your time. Right? Don't put your time into making killer buildings and spaces that nobody's ever going to be, that
Bingo.
Nobody cares about or aren't designed for the people that are in them.
Absolutely. Fit for use. And that's, you talk about the AVIXA standards. Those things are crucially important. Viewing spaces, go down the technical road again, PAGNAG, potential acoustic gain, needed acoustic gain, right? Things like that are crucial. If you have a space that is not outfitted properly, it doesn't matter what the underlying infrastructure is. Doesn't matter if your 2x4s are made of steel versus wood versus whatever. It's just not going to work for the end user. And so everything you need to do has to have that lens put on it with that in mind, right? So, we talk about AV and IT coming together. They've been colliding for 10, 15 years. You guys at Yavapai College, like you said, you're using Cisco NVX. That's one of the things that I'm exploring right now. Is it going to be Cisco NVX? What are the drawbacks to that? What are the advantages to going to a system like that? What happens if your director goes down, right? Do you have a backup? What happens if your main trunk to where that director is goes down? Does the system still work? How are you enabling high availability and business continuity planning into those things? Because IT is really good at doing those things.
I was going to say, you sound a lot like a network admin right there.
I may have dabbled in that in my past life.
Yeah.
But, high availability and business continuity are two different things. People need to understand that failing over from one thing to the other is not a one-way street. It needs to be two-way. You need to be able to fail back to your primary, right? And, your primary and your secondary, or your leader or your follower, your whatever you want to call it, you need to be able to do those things properly and flip them on a dime so that there's almost zero latency between the two. So that if it does go down, people are impervious to it and life continues.
Yeah.
Can you say that with your traditional AV island? I don't think you can.
Right.
Because let's go back to the DMPS. And I know they're trying to sunset these things, but the DMPS is an all-in-wonder box, as Chris Decter calls it.
Yeah.
The all-in-wonder box because it does everything. Before they came out with those, you had video transport, you had audio transport, and you had control that was separate. And there were advantages to that, but there was no high availability in it. There was no redundancy in it. If one box failed, the whole thing collapsed. It really is a house of cards when you're building it like that. So to think about building, IT and AV infrastructure like a house of cards does not make sense. Start building in everything that you need, working together with those people that you have around you who are really, everybody's an expert in their own area. Leverage those experts. Leverage them.
I love that. I love that.
Don't abuse
everybody.
Use.
Exactly. Don't abuse. But the idea that everybody's here for the same purpose. So why like you said, break down the silos and work on it together. Chris, thank you.
Absolutely.
This is amazing how fast half an hour goes when you are
Absolutely.
talking to somebody that that has a vision or has a concept of what they think can be better in the future, rather than just talking about what's good or bad about today. So thank you for taking the time to share with us. If people wanted to find you, contact, and connect, how would somebody go about doing that?
Chris Hewitt, I'm on LinkedIn. That's the best way to hit me up. Feel free to add me, and always up for a conversation. And I don't have it all right. Yeah.
Well, none of us have it all right. That's why we have to get together and talk and collaborate, and then go on podcasts and make everybody listen to what we have to say. I love
AV
it.
Tweeps unite.
Good deal. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the AV IT Amplifier. Tune in next week for more with today's guest. It'll be great or your money back. Your host has been Ryan Gray. He's on the tweeters at Ryan_A_Gray, or find him on LinkedIn to connect. Please subscribe and give the show a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. This show is brought to you by higheredav.com. The views expressed here are not necessarily those of our respective institutions, employers, or sponsors. Everyone hang in there, go easy, and we'll be back next week.